First, let's start with this case. I, 30F, have 4 dogs, but the one this story is about is a 4F Rottie named Bella. A few months ago, new renters moved next door, and things have been unpleasant to say the least. The neighbors are always screaming and fighting late into the night, and the men in the home have a habit of always trying to talk to or just watch me when I'm outside. This is not done in a friendly way, and it has made me feel very uncomfortable. I'm a single female living alone, and our police force isn't the best, so I just keep my head down, hoping they'll move out soon. The other night, around 11 p.m., I was outside with my dogs in the backyard. My neighbors have a chain fence, but I have no fence along my property, except for the part that separates their property from mine. One of my dogs is on leash, but the other 3 are completely trained off leash and do not leave the yard. I know some people may not agree with that, but I live in the countryside, and also my dogs have never run off. One of the women who lives next door, for some reason, decided to enter my yard because she wanted to just play with my puppies. Bella growled and walked closer to me, and I asked the woman to please leave, but she just kept telling me it was fine and ignored what I was saying. One of the men decided to join her, and they came more onto my property, which then led to Bella barking, and after a few moments of them continuing, she chased after them. She stopped running the second she hit the property line and went inside with me immediately after. Now, these neighbors keep making comments about not feeling safe with their kids, and how I should have called my dog back because they weren't a threat. I don't feel like I did anything wrong, but I also don't want the area to think that my dogs are dangerous, especially with the stigma against Rotties. I also don't want to stir up unnecessary drama when it's already difficult living next to these people. Am I in the wrong? Edit. I know I just posted this, but thank everyone for the advice. I've called a friend who has agreed to come over tonight, and he will crash in my spare room until I feel safe. I'm going to contact the police tomorrow and make a report, as well as get a runner and a cheap camera as soon as I get paid. I'll update if anything changes, but I hope you all have a fantastic night, and thank you for the advice. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. Your neighbor came into your property without permission and thought she could just pet your dogs. Bella had every right to chase someone who wasn't invited off. If you're worried about your neighbors, get cameras and place them in the front and backyard. Okay, on paper, you're not in the wrong, but you own a breed that has a scary dog reputation, and there's going to be bias against it. And I think you are doing her a disservice with how you are approaching this. Good fences make great neighbors, and I think you need to fence or plant dense shrubbery on your property line immediately to prevent them from accessing your yard at will. You can be in the legal right and the moral right, but it's still wrong if your dog loses. Due to Am I in the Wrong guidelines, I think I'm prohibited from discussing several potential outcomes I can think of that absolutely have happened before. Even if your dog isn't in the wrong, 1, we felt threatened to justify extreme defensive action will, perhaps if you sue them, prove them in the wrong. But what is a lawsuit win if you no longer have your dog? You can say, she would never hurt someone. But someone defending themselves against a vicious dog attacking them says, well, it's not my dog. I don't know that it wouldn't actually attack me. It was chasing me, and the owner didn't stop it from happening. And suddenly they can present at surface-level investigation a reasonable justification for use of force in defense of themselves, regardless of the fact that they were on your property without invitation in the first place. I think you need to investigate your options for making it clear that you will consider any crossing into your yard as trespassing, post appropriate signage, maybe discuss with police, or you could check out a legal subreddit for recommendations. Get a physical barrier to deter them, and go from there. You're not wrong for not recalling your dog, but you're risking putting her in a situation where even though you're in the right, she very well could possibly suffer for it. You're not in the wrong. Sounds like if your neighbors had just stayed on their side of the property, there would be no problems. Hopefully now they do just that. How dumb can they be to continue encroaching when your dog is giving warning growls and barks? That said, I would keep an eye out for those neighbors. Probably put up a few cameras to watch your property. Consider a better fence. Put up a couple beware of dogs and no trespassing signs for good measure. Next up, I-49F have 2 adult children who both still live at home. Emma 25F and Ian 23M. Their father and I divorced 12 years ago, so it's been the 3 of us for a while now. I had received child support until they turned 18. Their father had paid it willingly, so it wasn't arranged through the courts. This is why he stopped at 18 even though they were both technically still in school. Fast forward to present day. They both work full-time, don't have any debt from school, and both still live at home. I have asked them repeatedly to contribute a set amount each month towards household expenses since I can't continue supporting them forever. Ian doesn't have a problem with this, but Emma thinks it's my responsibility as her mother to support her financially until she's ready to move out. I'm not asking them for much or trying to profit from them. I just want to be able to save for my retirement and be able to retire. I'd be happy with $100 each a week to cover their share of groceries, utilities, and household supplies. I buy all the groceries, laundry detergent, toilet paper, etc. for the house. They are responsible for their cars and related expenses, cell phones, and personal toiletries. Some of my daughter's friends live at home for free, but those friends also live in a home with both parents working. My daughter has actually said she will quit her job and go on social assistance just so she can't afford to pay me rent. So, internet strangers, am I in the wrong for asking my adult children to pay rent to live at home? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. I would say it is time to tell your daughter if she can't pay you rent, shared expenses, money, then it is time for her to move out. Maybe she needs to learn how living on her own costs to appreciate what you have been providing, or what a great deal $100 week is. She is an adult. You shouldn't be subsidizing her to your detriment. You're not in the wrong. 23 and 25 is plenty old to be paying rent, especially if they don't have loans to pay off. Plus, I would imagine that what you plan to charge them is well below market rate. I'm 27 and have been living independently since I was 18 in one of the most expensive regions of the U.S., and I am by no means a high earner. My brother was kicked out of our parents' house when he was 22 and also manages to survive in a relatively expensive area on very limited income. Your kids are very lucky to have a parent who has supported them completely up to this point and should be willing to contribute to the household they live in. Paying into collective expenses now will help them understand what life really costs and prepare them for, hopefully, living on their own in the future. You're not in the wrong. Tell Emma that she has 3 options. Start paying $100 a week to cover what she uses so she can still live with you. Convince her dad to let her move into his place so he can 100% support her indefinitely. Find her own place alone or with roommates. Tell her the free ride is over. You love her, but you're not going to subsidize a mooch. Next up, let's start judging. Next up, I-34F and husband, 37 mom, and 52. My stepmom has been helping us out by babysitting my 2 children, 2 and 5. And while me and my husband are very grateful, we are very upset with her. My stepmom recently was divorced by my father. My stepmom had nowhere to go, so she had asked to stay with us. I hadn't had a great relationship with her for stealing stuff I had bought with my money when I was 17. However, I decided to push past this and move on. When she moved in, we went over rules and told her what her experience would look like. She agreed to our rules, which included buying food for herself when necessary, although we did tell her we would mostly be buying stuff for her so she could get back on her feet. Another rule we had was babysitting. We would agree to pay her for babysitting our kids when we needed her so that she could make some money to get back on her feet. We gave her our job contact info had she ever needed to call them if she couldn't get a hold of us while we were at work. Recently, we haven't really been needing her to babysit, but she has been insistent on paying for food items. We went over the fact that this wasn't needed, and she replied that she wanted to feel like she had more power over us by paying for food. I gently reminded her that this was our house and she was a guest in it, to which she got pissed. She told me and my husband that she has power over us and how she was my mom. I didn't reply, and just stopped talking to her. My husband had made plans with her that we would need her to babysit our kids this past Monday, and she had agreed to it since we were both going to work. I am at work when my work receives a call from my husband telling me that my stepmom called him saying that she was leaving to go party with her friends, and he was going back home to talk to her. I agree that he is doing the reasonable thing since she has no concept of responsibility. I then, while at work, receive a call from my stepmom who had said that my husband said that she needed to grow up and gain responsibility or get out. I, of course, sided with my husband and she hung up. The next morning, whilst driving home, I noticed my stepmom's car wasn't in my driveway, and I asked my husband about it, to which he replied, "She chose to get out." I have been trying to reach my stepmom for days, but she nor my stepsister, whom she moved in with, will hold a conversation with me, and my stepmom will not apologize. I'm starting to feel like the idiot since neither of them will respond to me. Did I overreact and overstep? Edit 1. I disliked her when I was 17, didn't really talk to her, and then decided to give her another chance, based on stepsis who had a problem similar to mine, which stepmom was able to apologize and grow from. The original reason she moved in with me and not stepsis is because she is having a rough time paying the rent. Also, we would pay stepmom, and she wouldn't. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. And never contact her again. This was a power move to show that she did in fact have some power over you, and the fact that you are trying to contact her is proving her point. She lives that you're reaching out and she's not answering, because it gives her even more power over you. You're not in the wrong, and be grateful you got rid of her that easy. Wash your hands off of her. If she wants to have a decent adult relationship with you, she can get in touch and apologize. Right now, enjoy the peace of not having someone who has power over you. 'Cause WTF was that about? You're not in the wrong, but you need to stop giving her attention. She literally told you she wanted power over you, and you are giving it to her. You claim to not even like this woman, but you took her in and allowed her around your children, which is wild to me. I can't imagine allowing someone I don't like to watch my children unsupervised. Just let her go. She isn't worth your time and attention.